Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, March 14th. It is 10:27 in the evening. Okay, this is part 4 of the Brothers Karamazov. The style of the Brothers Karamazov is based on the spoken, not the written word. Dostoevsky's composed in voices. We know from his notebooks and letters how he gathered the phrases, mannerisms, verbal tics from which a Fyodor Pavlovich or a Smirkov would emerge, and how he would try out these voices, writing many pages of dialogue that would never be used in the novel. The publications of his notebooks in the 1930s finally dispelled old prejudice that Dostoevsky was a careless and indifferent stylist. All the oddities of his prose are deliberate. They are a sort of learned ignorance and willed imperfection of artistic means that is essential to his vision. I will give some examples here, which will also suggest how many and why we have made this translation. The first voice to be heard in the Brothers Karamazov is the narrator's. Needless to say, he is not Dostoevsky. The brief note from the author at the start of the book, which the author himself calls superfluous, accomplishes a number of important things by way of introduction. But above all, it introduces us to the whole stylistic complex of the narrator's voice. His hedged assertions. One thing, perhaps, is rather doubtless his rare poetic flights, some kind of flooding wind, his repetitions, emphatic or humorous. Being at a loss to resolve these questions, I am resolved to leave them without any resolution. His idiosyncratic use of such words as even, almost, some, and a battery of indefinite expressions, as it were, as if, apparently. His mixed diction and sometimes wandering syntax. He has a penchant for compound modifiers, which he often forms incorrectly. At one point, he writes, Ivan Fyodorovich was convinced beyond doubt of his complete and extremely ill condition. Among his most common tics is the fused cliche, as when he refers to the monk from Obdorsk as the distant visitor, a fusion of visitor from far away and distant land. He will get stuck on a particular word, repeat it, and 5 times and a half a page, and then never use it again. His sentences tend to flounder most when he is most serious, notably when he talks about Alyosha Karamazov, but he can be quite pointed when skewering someone he does not like. For instance, Pyotr Alexandrovich Myuzov, and within his scope, which is that of an amateur writer or more of a talker than a writer, he has his own artistry. He often uses internal rhyme or consonants, splintered and scattered. He sometimes allows himself triple alliterations, a weak, wailing, woeful voice. There are stretches when the person of the author seems to recede and be replaced by a more conventional, omniscient narrator, but his voice will suddenly reemerge in a phrase or half phrase giving an unexpected double tone or double point of view to the passage. Dostoevsky is famous for his pathetic scenes, yet there is perhaps no such scene in the Brothers Karamazov that is not stylistically counterpointed and lightened by the narrator. Captain Snegirov's house is described in the prelude to one of the most pathetic scenes in the novel as a decrepit, lopsided little house with only 3 windows looking out onto the street, and a dirty courtyard in the middle of which a cow stood solitarily. In another scene, Snegirov's cry, "Mama, let me kiss your hand," is followed by the comment, "Her husband jumped close to her and at once carried out his intention." "Be prepared for anything," the Moscow doctor pronounces after informing Snegiryov that his son is going to die. Then, lowering his eyes, he himself prepared to step across the threshold to the carriage. The novel is a tissue of such moments. By making his narrator a writer, and a writer with such pronounced personal mannerisms, Dostoevsky stresses the writtenness of the novel, but perhaps unexpectedly, this has the effect of heightening the reality of the events and people he is writing about, of detaching them somewhat from the word. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching.